What's up, everybody? Matthew, My Real Life TV 505 here with you again. And I'm here with a really good friend of mine, Jacque. Jacque and I met in church, I want to say probably a little over a year ago now, right?
Yeah.
About 2 years ago, maybe?
Something like that.
Yeah, we met in church, and Jacque is also a veteran. Tell us a little bit about the branch of military that you were in, and during what era?
I was in the Air Force, went in '69, and the same day I got drafted, I went into the Air Force.
Yeah.
So they looked for me for a little while, and they found me down in Lackland Air Force Base. It bothered my mom and everything. It was tight. It was tight. I had to get it into the Air Force. My brother had sent me a letter from Vietnam telling me that because I was having traffic problems, I had a felony reckless driving.
Oh.
And the Air Force wouldn't take me with that. So we had some advantage, I guess. My dad worked downtown, and he talked to the DA, and they dropped it from reckless to careless.
Okay.
So then that wasn't a felony anymore, so the Air Force took me right on the nick of time. And so I went off into the Air Force. After basic, I went to Mississippi, Keesler Air Force Base, which there I spent about a year there. My first tour. I studied electronics. That was a 9-month course. And yeah, I just couldn't work with electronics. I didn't go into
Wasn't
that.
your thing?
Yeah, it just wasn't, you know. So went off, went to Korea. First we went to the Philippines. Oh my gosh, that was great. The Philippines were a nice place to be. And we were rotating to Vietnam at that time. And my time was coming up in like 2 weeks. When all of a sudden we got an order to move to Korea.
Oh man.
The entire squadron moved to Korea, and we set up some radar sites right along the DMZ. And mine was right on the east coast, about a mile and a half from the actual DMZ. And that was a lonely 15 months total.
Oh wow.
Then I came back home and got married, went back to Keesler Air Force Base, and about 7 months before my final date was, there was a bunch of early outs. People were getting early outs up to a year.
Oh wow.
The war in Vietnam was drawing down and everything. But when I went to Vietnam, my duty was in Thailand, which was part of the war zone, I guess you call it. Even though we had no problems. One time a bomb blew up, killed a couple of guys. Killed the guy that tried to save his buddy, and he died. Didn't get a Purple Heart for that.
Oh man.
And because it was an enemy fire.
Yeah.
And so he, 2 guys, that was sad. And there in Thailand, I worked in the bomb dump. And it was amazing to me, all the lack of any vegetation anywhere, ever. I mean, the rainy season, nothing would come up. And it was a huge bomb dump. I forget how many, 400 acres or something.
And just because that so much like radiation from the bomb dump, like they didn't allow anything to.
No, they hit it with Agent Orange.
Oh.
And I was there during the dry season. I think, well, I got, instead of an early out, I got orders to report to HR personnel, and I was all happy. I thought I was going to get an early out. No, nothing.
Oh, man.
They sent me to munitions maintenance course, a short course, just because they needed people who were pushing bombs. And boy, they pushed bombs. You wouldn't believe the number of bombs that were taken off. We'd go to the end of the runway at night,
Yeah.
get high. There are guard stations all over the place, but they'd let us go down to the beach at night, and we'd sit right at the edge of the runway watching the B-52s come overhead.
Yeah.
It looked like porcupines with all those bombs underneath and the bombs inside, and they just pushed bombs until you wouldn't believe. But I was there during the rainy season, the dry season.
Got you.
Because they do have a dry season and a very wet. Most of the year is very wet.
Yeah.
But and I was posted at the entrance to the bomb dump to hold back the trucks that were coming in. The locals would drive the bombs in from the shipyards, and they'd come in and raise a dust that you wouldn't believe. You couldn't even see, And I guess that's where I got my Agent Orange.
Let's start from that.
Because I've got a bunch of presumptive illnesses for Agent Orange.
And you've been going to the VA
for about 9 years, something like that.
treating it?
Getting treatment, yeah.
8-9 years at the VA getting treatment for
For
Agent Orange.
For Agent Orange, yeah.
Well, I mean, man, it's got to be a lot to deal with. I know that you and I, once we start hanging out a little more, you taught me a lot. You talked to me a little bit more about what you were dealing with, and I did some research on it. Man, this stuff is no joke. I mean,
No, it's not.
and you're like kind of technically one of like the luckier ones, right?
I am one of the blessed ones.
Yeah.
And
Because it could be a lot worse from what I've
be
researched.
Except I had a heart attack from ischemic heart failure.
Yeah.
So right now I'm running around with 40% of my heart.
Hey, but you know what? It's a big heart, man.
Yeah, oh, thank you.
Yeah, you got a big heart. It's beautiful. I'm gonna share with everybody real quick, so we can medicate, and you can share with everybody why you choose to medicate with cannabis. Today I went through the High Desert Relief and picked up a Cherry-O hybrid pre-roll. So it's kind of got a very flowery, more of a natural smell to it.
Sounds good to me.
So we're gonna go ahead and smoke this up, and then while we're smoking this, Jacque is gonna share more with us about his experience with his medications and why he's chosen cannabis. Now, I was talking to Jacque earlier before we had started the video. Jacque is 100% off of in all his prescription medications, and is entirely
Pain
on
medication.
pain medication. That's right, because there is some medications can't be off of, but he's entirely off prescription pain medication, morphine, oxycodone, and now he is 100% on CBDs and THC. And he's going to tell us a little bit more about that experience. See if we get this J going, and we'll share that story. So, Jacque, how many different pain meds have the doctors tried on you?
I started out in Douglas, Arizona.
Okay.
I had back problems, had an accident, got hit from behind, and my back was already bad at the time that accident happened, and that one just seemed to
Kind of added to it
a little more. I mean, if you get hit from behind and you total a Ford Excursion,
wow,
1 ton,
that motherfucker was going fast.
and he
That
came up.
hit you.
Well, it was construction site up ahead, and they had stopped traffic, and we saw it really late, and the guy that was driving actually controlled it and moved it over to the side, and so they hit us on the right side back.
Yeah.
And they smashed everything, and that the axle the axle, I mean, the, what do you call it? Springs and everything were
All
all
the
screwed
suspension and
up.
all that. Yeah.
But it drove. We drove it back to headquarters. When they came back, they totaled it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was the one on the passenger side, so I got the hit. Man, we had a park bench seat for the front seat on that excursion,
Yeah.
and boom, and it flattened my seat and threw my glasses. We couldn't even find my glasses.
It hit you so hard.
Yeah, he was at full speed.
Yeah.
He didn't brake before he hit us. He just like we did.
And how many years ago was this?
Oh my gosh, this was in Douglas. When did I go to Douglas? I went in 2001.
And so you already had like the back problems from a lot of like the military stuff, right?
Not the military.
Which is other things.
It was, yeah.
And then this just kind of added to it in like the early 2000s. And so since then, with all these things going on, the doctors were trying to help you get your pain under control, right? Pain management.
Mm-hmm.
And so what kind of medications were they using on you to get your pain under control? Oh, try that out, by the way. It tastes good. Yeah, that is nice. Not bad, right?
Didn't make me cough.
Smooth, exactly. Nice and smooth. So, but yeah, so how many different kind of pain medications were you on?
Well, it all started actually. I thought I was in great health. I was 58 years old, I think, and I had a heart attack.
Yeah.
I had 2 heart attacks, and so they opened me up and replaced four arteries, and they couldn't get to the 5th one, so they left that one clogged up, and then they started. That's when I started medications. I'd never had anything before.
Yeah.
And so at first he put me on oxycodone and morphine pill.
Wow, how many milligrams?
I don't remember.
Can't remember. Yeah.
I don't remember much from those days.
Probably because they had you on so many of those medications too.
Well, I got to the point, and I knew it, that I just wasn't thinking straight. My mind was cloudy, foggy,
And your body felt sluggish.
Mm-hmm. And very, very sluggish. And then I had the heart attack. What happened there? One day I came home and I decided to stop drinking.
Nice.
So I quit drinking beer, everything, just stopped. Then I stopped smoking weed. And 2 or 3 months later, I had my heart attack.
Your heart freaked out without all that. What are you doing to me, Jacque?
So anyway, they went in and fixed my heart, and it's been a long time. 12 years.
12 years, 13 years.
They
That's good.
replaced the defibrillator once.
Okay.
Put a more modern one. Still hurts.
Yeah.
I can feel it anyway. That's not. And so anyway, he put me on that oxycodone and morphine. And when I transferred here, I started with a doctor down in Carlisle somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, I continued with the oxycodone and morphine, and then one day I decided, well, I was reading, and I see where they had admitted to spraying Thailand, and they had some presumptive illnesses, they called them, that if you had this,
there's a chance you've been affected by the Agent Orange. Yeah.
And if you had this, additionally, so anyway, I had the ischemic, which is the kind of heart disease that they blame on Agent Orange.
Yeah.
Ischemic, the heart failure, I guess they call it.
Yeah.
And so when I missed a little spot. Anyway, after I got sick, with heart failure, my diabetes kicked in.
Oh,
Another
another.
presumptive illness.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then my feet started hurting. Another presumptive illness. What they call it?
Like these are all just kind of little symptoms that you would see of Agent Orange.
If Agent Orange, they presume that it comes from Agent Orange. So I filed. I went down and took the Agent Orange survey, and the lady that talked to me recommended that I apply for Agent Orange. So I did. Then I got denied, I think, once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
And then one day I was heading in south on University.
Here, try that.
Not smoking. I had to quit smoking weed also,
Yeah.
so that was all messed up.
That was good, isn't it? So yeah, it's so smooth. And I noticed that too. Like it's something you could just keep hitting and you're not choking. Like it's not dry. It's not dry at all. It's very moist, fluffy flower.
There you go. I don't want a Bogart.
Yeah. Oh no, you're fine.
You know about Bogart? Don't Bogart
Or babysit.
that joint.
Or babysit it.
Friend.
Yeah.
Pass it over.
That's great. Yeah, that's kind of that's the history of that's some history of cannabis right there. A lot of people don't know about. It's been in the music industry ever since blues music.
The devil's music.
That's right. That's right. With the devil's lettuce, everybody was jiving.
Yeah.
So where were you saying you said you were having an episode? You were driving home.
I was driving home and I couldn't see. I was seeing real blurry lights.
Yeah.
And I said, "That's not right. I didn't, you know." So I went in and this guy was busy. This doctor. Anyway, when I finally got to see him, at the end he was in a hurry, and I told him about those symptoms. So he gave me a blood sugar meter.
Yeah.
What they call it,
A glucose test or something like that. Yeah.
And I went home, and I did everything they said, you know, and I got the sample, and I was at 428 my sugar level.
Wow.
So,
whoa.
No, that can't be right, you know. So I checked it again. So the next day I called the doctor, and he called me in. So I went in, and he put me on medication, and put the oxycodone and morphine in because of all my other pains.
Yeah.
And so every time I moved, I'd get
morphine
automatically.
Yeah.
Like I started on Carlisle, then I said, I'll go to the base, you know, and sure enough.
Transferred your morphine there.
Well, one day I was driving down to University, and right at Gibson, I was stopped at the light, and I look across the street, and there's a raggedy sign about a lawyer that helps veterans,
yeah.
you know, and stuff. And he doesn't anymore because they can only charge 20% of your back pay.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of these guys don't have many years coming of back pay. And I had 3 because it's when you're first diagnosed, not when you got it.
Yeah.
Anyway, all those were diagnosed, and I talked to the lawyer, and I told him, you know, and I showed him where I had been. We had an aerial photograph, and I showed him, you know, everything that was there. And they had some kind of something about you had to have been on the perimeter of the base.
Yeah.
And just by chance, I was sitting right at the perimeter of the base when I was on duty at that station.
Right.
Yeah. And,
yeah, they put you on the perimeter.
I was on the perimeter.
Yeah.
And every time we passed through the gates, we were on the perimeter.
And you said that was that time where there was that dry season. and all the air had hit it.
And it was dusty.
Yeah.
Every day I just get covered with dust.
Oh man, that's just.
Couldn't do my weed either. So
Yeah.
things weren't so cool. Anyway, one day over there, we had some weed there that was so good that you would save the last gram, and just enjoy it.
Over it. Yeah.
They called it Buddha weed. Oh my gosh.
Well, there's this place that sells Buddha Tahoe.
Buddha.
It's called Buddha Tahoe.
Buddha.
It's
Tahoe.
a strain of cannabis.
It comes from.
I don't know where they come from. I think Verdes is the last place we got some Buddha Tahoe. But so how recent is it that you just came off of your all your medications and transitioned to cannabis?
One day my buddy was walking down the street, and he was smoking a blunt. Him and his buddy, I said, we're walking, and I said, wow, that's wonderful perfume, I told him. And he looked at me and said, you want some? I said, yeah. So I took a hit, coughed like crazy,
Well, yeah, blunts make you cough, yeah.
And done that in a long time, about 10 years I quit smoking.
So it's been about
more.
About 10 years then, huh?
I quit a little more than 10 years since my heart attack. I hadn't smoked anything.
Yeah.
Tobacco or weed. And then, but that time I took that, and I started Googling. Yeah.
Like the benefits about it?
Checking about it.
Researching. You're a smart man. You research a lot.
Because and then I decided to get my card, my cannabis.
How long have you had your card now?
A year. I just renewed it. It should be coming in any day now.
Awesome. Congratulations, man. And so when did you officially get off of all your pain medication? When were those out the door?
Well, first, about 8 years that I had been on morphine and oxycodone.
Yeah.
I told the doctor to stop the morphine, or I just didn't reorder it.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they weren't alarmed about that, because you're supposed to go into all kinds of trambles
withdrawals and stuff. But you were smoking weed when you quit.
Yeah.
Okay, so that actually
started quitting.
Yeah, actually weed helps you with coming off those medications.
I started weed and CBD, and I find it out in the market. I can't go to the dispensaries and pay their prices. Dang, that's like $300 an ounce if you buy it
for ounces. Yeah. But it's nice when you go down there. Now you can pick up some the edibles, some pre-rolls and stuff like that.
There were some plants down there the other day.
Oh, for the growers.
Clover.
Oh, 7 clover, yeah.
Oh my gosh, they had some clones, they call them.
Mm-hmm.
Over here, right in that pot right there.
Yeah.
We went to Florida. We were gone for about 2.5 weeks, and I had a bunch of seeds, from some good pot. So just
kind of like Jacque and the Beanstalk.
Yeah. and when we came back, there was some beautiful plants there.
Yeah.
Plants, and I know it was indica because the leaves
size
were
of the
puffy.
leaves. Yeah.
They were puffy looking,
nice and fat.
And fat. Yeah. And but they were beautiful. And my wife saw them and said, "Get rid of them." So I had to get rid of them. Too bad, because if I could have transplanted them, they would have been.
Well,
all right.
So Jacque, you've been off your pain medications about a year now, or a little less?
About 4 months.
About 4 months completely off pain medication.
Completely off.
And I remember you were telling me prior to this interview that now you are able to do a honey-do list now that you're doing CBD and cannabis. It's easier for you to do.
Yeah, much easier. My body still doesn't respond like I'd like it to, but my mind is clear.
You don't feel weak or foggy.
I don't. My mind is clear. I don't have that cloud inside my head,
Like groggy
making
feeling.
making me do stupid things, like bump my truck against those
noticed the-
poles there, and look how messed up.
Kind of spacey type stuff.
Oh, today they put running boards and rain shields on
Oh yeah.
it. Chrome running boards.
Yeah.
They're gonna look nice.
Oh yeah.
But I gotta get that front fixed.
Well, I really want to tell you, Jacque, I've really enjoyed doing this interview with you, man. I really appreciate you. I really appreciate you taking time to share your story with me, not just me, but with other cannabis patients, because what this is going to do is it's going to help other cannabis patients and other veterans that are in your position know that medical cannabis and CBDs are a major benefit to you, where you don't have to rely on those medications and feel like you're out of it.
And even VA approved my use.
Yeah.
All I had to
a lot
do
of
is
more
take my
doctors are.
card. All I had to do is take my card up there. They registered me as a cannabis user,
Hmm.
and they started testing me for cannabis.
Yeah.
They never would test for cannabis before. Why you can't do anything about it?
A lot of it is that a lot of doctors are still trying to figure out the like the regulations of it, like how much cannabis do you consume in order for you to feel as good as you do, But everybody is different. That's the thing. Every individual is different.
And you do the research on it, and my gosh, it's complex.
Oh, it's a science.
I was
It's a
seeing
total science.
all they've done, completely, and the government's already involved in testing.
Well, think about how much has changed since the '60s,
Oh
man,
my
to
gosh!
now.
Wow, I would never sit out here and smoke this back in the '60s.
Right.
Somebody would have said something.
Oh,
Now they
somebody
can
would
say
have
something. And,
Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares nowadays. Everybody's like they're medicating. Leave them alone. They're not gonna hurt nobody.
yeah,
They could be doing worse
they finally
things.
figured that one out.
Yeah.
They were right from the beginning during the civil rights movement. They started breaking that coming down on weed because
they
they
started
blamed it on the minorities.
Exactly. They started this whole war on drugs, and we all knew what that really meant. It meant a war on minority neighborhoods. We know what that meant.
Yeah.
But anyways, Jacque, brother, thank you so much, man, for taking time to share your story. It really, really means a lot. And if anybody, if you have any advice out there for anyone, I'm sure it would be to choose cannabis over pain meds,
Oh
right?
my gosh, yes. Pain meds. And I got off of them overnight. Just got off of them.
But you were already using cannabis when you did, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, because it helps you.
And I said, nah, these aren't worth it, so I quit ordering them. And towards the end, I had a blood test, and I guess it didn't show that I was using my pain meds.
Yeah.
So they scheduled me to have another blood test, and I better have some of my pain meds in me.
Yeah.
So I took some the day before, so it would be in my urine or wherever they test the blood or the urine. And I never heard from them again.
And it was over.
No.
Yep.
But now they know that I smoke weed. They test me for it. But
just off of hanging out with you today, Jacque, compared to when you and I first met, because I think you were taking those medications then. I remember you were having you were kind of having a hard time. There was a few classes you weren't able to make it to.
Yeah.
You were going through a lot of treatments and stuff at the time. And I'm telling you, I feel like hanging out with you today, you have a whole new energy to you. You have a whole you have a whole new energy. You have a whole new light, and it's good to see you just feeling good and upright and looking strong. You're looking good, man. So thank you again, Jacque, for hanging out and smoking with me, medicating with me. And we'll finish this off, and we'll see the rest of you later.